Hello, everybody. Hope you're doing well. It is STARJUMP Grim. It's Shipyard. It is Saturday night, kind of an unusual night for a stream, but I'll get to why we're doing it tonight and all that kind of good stuff. I see VMXEO just slid into chat. VM, hope you're doing well, buddy. Nice to see you, as well as everybody in chat. Nice to see everyone in chat. I saw some nice messages pop up there. So yeah, great to see everybody. Hope you're doing well. Hope you had a good week. Let me just get the first thing right. Oh, did we? Good Lord, we're right out the gate. Thorn 1234000 just gave out 5 community subs. My God, Thorn, thank you very much, buddy. Appreciate that. You know what you're getting. You're getting the double salute. That's what you're getting. Throwing up that 007 for Thorn. Thank you so much, buddy. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. By the way, everyone, the bot is not running tonight. Thank you for those subs. But if you put your question in brackets, we'll try to grab it. Art's pretty good at that. Art's here with me. Fast Car has an early question, though, so let's grab that one. Thoughts on the sneak peek? We're going to get to that. I promise, Fast Car. I do have opinions on that. But, again, nice to see everybody. Got all kinds of amazing StarJump and Star Citizen community people in chat, so that's always fun to see, including the amazing Fast Cart from Soul Citizens. They put on an absolutely amazing show in Las Vegas this past year, Quantum Vegas. I sure hope it happens again. I don't know if it's happening again, Fast Cart. I don't know if it was successful or not successful, but it sure as hell was a lot of fun and felt successful, and I would love for it to happen again. Even on a smaller scale, I'd be cool with it. But anyways, nice to see everybody. Why are we streaming on Saturday night? Well, I've been sick as a dog for about a week and a half, and I also was overloaded with work. Several of you may have heard that when I popped on the InfoRunner show or when I did my own stream a couple of days back. I was just overloaded with work. I really could not focus on Star Citizen or anything StarJump related. It was that kind of dire. I have kind of got through a lot of that now. And I still have some challenges over the next coming week. I am getting surgery on Tuesday to my knee. But I don't think it's going to knock me out of commission or anything for streams. It might make next week the streams more on the back end of the week, but it shouldn't affect things too much because I can still stream while my knee is wrapped up. But other than that, it's just been really, really busy on a personal level. So Star Citizen and stuff has had to take a little bit of back seat. But again, I am back. I am back, everybody. It's nice to see everybody. Got a lot of questions. Probably see Victoria. Victoria, nice to see you too. Yeah, a lot of questions here. VM asking about Evo. I have not had a chance to check out Evo. I have checked out the Evo notes though. Although I may pop in Evo later tonight and check it out, but I have not checked out stuff. But the primary reason I wanted to do the stream. Oh, and by the way, VM, if you want to chat about any of this, you're welcome to pop in the channel, of course. But the reason I wanted to do the stream tonight is because we got another PU monthly report. Everyone knows I love those. I love talking about the ship info that comes out. And there was a rather interesting note there about one particular ship that I'd like to go over. And we'll talk about some other things too. There's been some crazy 4.7 data mine changes coming down the pipe. I think some of those have hit Evo, going back to VMXEO's question, but we'll see. So Rage One says, I've had 7 knee surgeries. You will do great. I hope Rage. I do, buddy. How's your recovery time? Did you recover pretty quickly? Mine's just a torn meniscus. So it's a 1-day in and out operation. I'm hoping it's pretty chill. Pretty chill. But anyways, let's go ahead and get to some stuff. Let me swing over to my my windowed page here. First off, everyone, as you know, I am doing my Ironclad giveaway again. This event, yeah, VM, I definitely will, buddy. This ship is a little back of mind for a lot of people right now because it's still in production. But remember, this ship is coming and almost assuredly coming during Drake Defense Con. Okay. And with that, this is going to be the big deal at the end of May. This is going to be the ship that the focus is on, the spotlight's on. So make sure you get in on the giveaway. If you haven't already, all you got to do is scan the QR code, or here in a moment, I think, or if I just was better prepared and had my Gleam link up, which is right here, you can scan the QR code or go to that Gleam link and enter the giveaway. Obviously, that is going to be for a Drake Ironclad, the base edition, not the assault variant. And it will have, I think, 120-month insurance. I might throw in like whatever the concierge paint is when it goes flight ready, for those who are, whoever wins. But yes, don't forget to enter that. Big thing. I wanted to make sure I called that out front of show, as I always do. In addition to that, now that we've gotten the giveaway, the big giveaway out of the gate, and of course that is given away on March 31st. I do have a small giveaway. Now, the March 2026 subscriber promotion is this med kit. That's what we're giving away tonight. Okay, that's tonight's giveaway. Very easy to get in on that if you want. All you have to do is, if you are on Twitch, all you got to do is exclamation ticket or exclamation ticket space max to get all your tickets purchased for that. If you're over on YouTube, all you got to do is go to the link pinned to the top of chat. That is my new player guide. Leave a comment on that video, and I'm going to pull both winners there, the random YouTube comment and the stream elements. I'm going to throw you in the wheel of names, spin it, and whoever wins will win the med kit. Or I might just get a little crazy and I will give the person that wins off YouTube and the person that wins off Twitch, and just give them both a med kit, Cure Life med kit. Okay, so get in on that. That's tonight's giveaway. And then obviously the Ironclad is another giveaway. Now here's the big thing I wanted to announce that's kind of cool. From here on out, from here all the way to May 31st, when I do the Ironclad giveaway, okay, anybody who wins one of these smaller giveaways or comes in as a runner-up. So if your comment gets pulled off YouTube, or if you get picked by Stream Elements, I'm gonna give you 5 extra Ironclad entries. Okay, again, everyone's accruing entries just by watching the stream, but you get 5 extra if you get lucky enough to get your name pulled. So, and then I got some fun ways that I'm going to award people a shit ton of tickets once we get to May. At May, we're going to do a trivia game. We're going to do a trivia stream where you can win up to several hundred tickets for the Drake Ironclad. Okay, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be Star Citizen trivia. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. But anyways, get in on that while you can. Real quick before we go any further, though, let me go ahead and shout out the sponsors as always. Obviously, Icon City. Go to iconcity.com. Use the code STARJUMP. Get yourself some icons for that stream deck if you haven't already done that. Go play some train simulator, or some semi-truck simulator, some Star Citizen, whatever's your jam, and use the stream decks as your extra MFDs. Or hey, you can stream with them if you want to. You can always do that. But yes, iconcity.com. Use the code STARJUMP. Get a 10% off discount. Really do appreciate it. Next, Pigeon Spaceport, makers of ABS injected Scorpius models, coming very, very soon. I just got an email from them a week ago letting me know that my review version will be in early May. And then, of course, we will do a giveaway of that for all of you. So use the code STARJUMP over there. Again, really nice people over there. I haven't reviewed the product yet, so I'm refraining from giving my thoughts on the actual product, but the people are super nice. And we'll do a full review when it gets in, good or bad. I'm not going to hold back. Again, this is not my job. I could say what I want. Okay. Last but not least, Beam Eye Tracker, the good folks over there. I am working on a review video for them. Unfortunately, it's delayed because I got really sick and really busy at work, but I am working on a review of this. I've been testing a lot in several different games. I've been very happy with it. I am a long-time Track IR fan. I have not been using Track IR for a while though. I've been using this, and it's been really, really cool. And has been very sufficient so far in playing Star Citizen. I've been very happy with it, but again, a full review coming. Make sure you go use the code STARJUMP over there at Beam Eye Tracker's website. Get in on that. Do I have the link for that? I think I do. Do I have it? Yes. Here's the affiliate link. I think you can use this one. I think it works. Go try it out. But yeah, appreciate it. Okay, we did sponsors. We did giveaways. We got some guests in the channel. We got VMXEO's popped in chat. VM, I hope you're doing well, buddy.
Hello.
You've got a.
I am. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you just fine. You got a coffee icon next to your name in Discord, so I assume you've been busy.
If anyone knows me well, it's that I never have enough coffee.
Yes. Yeah. Stefan Hebert just used a keyword that grabs my eyes every time, no matter where it falls in chat. He says, I have a Kraken. Wonder if I should melt it with other ships for the battle cruiser. I will answer that question for you, Stefan, when we get to the Kraken, because I have opinions on that.
Do you want me to ban him now for suggesting melting the Kraken?
You may have to. You may have to.
I thought we discussed that as a permanent ban from the channel.
You may have to. Do not let...
Yeah.
Do not...
We'll let it slide this time.
Yeah. Don't let the shiny new of the battle cruiser pull you from the cult of the Kraken, okay? The cult of the Kraken is strong, and I promise you, you're going to love it. But we're going to get into that because I do think it's a interesting topic with the battle cruiser coming at Invictus, or the concept sale. So anyways, everybody, the subscriber promotion for this month is the Cure Life Field Medic Kit, which comes with these little dispensers in here for your med kit. I guess it holds them and stuff. You can also put the med gun device, whatever you call it, in there as well. Again, I'll be giving away the Field Medic Kit to two lucky winners tonight. I'm going to award it to both people that win. So we'll do that. But there it is, really cool. So a couple little things for that. And then they have some vehicles of the month, all medical vehicles here, Ursa Medevac, the Apollo Medevac, and the, that's it. That's the Ursa Medevac and the Apollo Medevac. So those are your ships of the month, along with the Cure Life thing. That's the subscriber stuff. All right, we're going to go ahead and jump right into it because there is quite a bit to talk about. We're going to start off tonight's discussion, though, with the PU monthly report. As always, there's a lot of, let's see, Van Berlations' this question: how do you feel about your comments from last week after more time has passed? I can't remember what I said last week. I was probably high on cold medication.
He was under the influence of medication.
Yes, heavily under the. But I'm one of those people that if I said it, I said it. I don't give a rat's ass. That's how I feel about anything. Even it's stuff I said when I was 20 years old, drunk and yelling off a rooftop. If I said it, I said it. It is what it is. So we're going to talk about the PU monthly report. Okay. As always, there's a ton of stuff in here. I encourage you all to go read it yourself. There's a lot of great info in there. I'm going to be mostly focusing on the ship stuff here because this is Shipyard. And this show focuses primarily on ships. When I do my STARJUMP shows, they're kind of just general discussion, but the Shipyard shows, I like to generally keep ship focused. I mean, we do tangent, that's fine. There's no hard and fast rules to this, but we're going to focus on the ship updates here for the PU monthly report. Okay. So again, go read the other stuff if you want. Again, lots of good stuff in there. Okay. All right. Ships. And I do have a new, I'm going to go ahead and throw this up because we are going to reference it some, but let me go back to the monthly report here. It says, in the UK, the ships team completed the art phases for the Aegis Hammerhead Gold Standard. With the ship moving to downstream teams for closeout, they then moved on to a related ship, which is approaching White Box. This is interesting. I wanted to talk briefly about this one. So first off, R and VM, obviously this question's open to you as well, and it open to everyone in chat. How does everyone feel about the Hammerhead Gold Standard? I mean, I, for one, am excited for it because the Hammerhead is a ship that really does have a place in fleet combat. I think it suffers from a lot of negatives right now that I'm hoping the Gold Standard alleviates. And I personally, I mean, VM, or sorry, Art, you said this right before we went live, but I think one of the most obvious things we can assume from this Gold Standard pass is that the Hammerhead's going to get some PDCs. PDCs matched with, the man turrets that the ship has. This thing could look pretty good coming out of Gold Standard. What do you guys think?
I'll jump in since
I was going to say I'll let you take first spin. He always gets my opinions.
Now, man, now my mind has gone completely blank. No, Hammerhead, first of all, I want to say is one of my favorite ships design-wise, inside and out. Maybe even inside a little bit more. Not laid out the best, so I am curious to see what they're going to smooth out on the Gold Pass.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons I love it is it's one of those crewable ships that almost everyone has something to do on the ship in the middle of a mission. You can all jump on a turret.
Yeah.
You have, you can take a bit of cargo. It's great for doing Overwatch if you need to escort someone else. So,
it's interesting.
My other org, who will name nameless, has a Hammerhead, and that is our flagship cruise ship. We all jump on that Hammerhead and go have fun in the verse.
Yeah, I think that's probably the case for a lot of people that run Hammerheads. It's a great cruise ship. It reminds me very much of ships like, the Reclaimer, which I know is a different role completely, but they're ships that are really suited for you to get on there with a group of friends and have a blast. And the Hammerhead probably is the epitome of that because everyone gets a gun, so to speak. Obviously if someone flying and probably an engineer and stuff, but it's one of those ships where when properly crewed, like you said, everyone has something to do. And when I say something to do, meaning pretty damn active. At the same time, that is the ship's Achilles heel a little bit, especially versus ships in its class, namely the Perseus. It's got a high crew count. Do you guys feel that there should be, with the Gold Standard of the Hammerhead, do you guys feel that there could be changes more fundamental to the Hammerhead to possibly reduce its crew size? I guess what I would say about that is, like, for example, what if you could replace like just the top turret with a fully remote AI driven turret?
I'm going to jump in on this.
Go ahead.
I'm going to say this is also probably going to be controversial, but I think one of the pluses of Star Citizen Capital ships the way they are now is that you need a crew.
Yeah.
To get the most out of the ship. And now it's going to expand now from not just gunners, but engineers and multiple engineers, and maybe even medics or other things. So AI, I know, has been controversial, but I think if you want to run a ship with less people, you're going to have to settle for a smaller ship. Run a Redeemer.
Yeah. Sergeant Perry says something here. He says, crew remains the same as it's a Squadron 42 ship. True, but the Squadron 42 version of the Hammerhead is locked and wrapped. I think what we're going to see, though, is a divergence of the Squadron 42 ships and PU Gold Standard ships. Now, again, I'm not saying that the crew size of the Hammerhead is going to change. As a matter of fact, I'm 99.8% sure it's going to remain exactly the same. I'm just saying that, like, I think for the last year now, differences are there. For example, we don't know if the Retaliator in Squadron 42 is now different than the Retaliator in the PU, because the Retaliator got Gold Standard stuff work done. We just don't know because we haven't played Squadron 42. So, well, let me ask you this, and this is for both of you. I mean, what do you hope the Gold Standard encompasses with this ship?
I would like to see a stronger capacity for the turrets. across the board. I think having more rounds in those turrets, because it's being fed off of a bigger ship, should definitely have that. And I'd like to see, maybe because it is a squadron ship and there's more people in it, I would like to see a med room. Like a tier 1, nothing ooh-ah amazing. But
you're talking to someone who thinks any large and up ship should have at least a small med facility in it. Not even like a full medical room, like a tier 3 med bed stuffed in a closet at the very least for ships over a certain size. Personally, I think.
And I think with the Hammerhead, you could maybe get away with it, but you'd have to shrink. Probably the mess hall. I think is probably the most overrated space. Not overrated, but just oversized space. I think is a better way of playing it. So.
Yeah, and that's going to tie into a discussion we have a little bit later about the Kraken. What you're saying there about spaces within ships and their gameplay, sort of how much gameplay those spaces within the ship have. So we're definitely going to talk about that.
You could also replace, I hate to say it, the captain's quarters.
Yeah.
So sorry,
captains. I mean, I guess it remains to be seen too on the Hammerhead how much, if the gold standard is truly just adding gold standard stuff throughout, fire extinguishers, light switches, that kind of stuff, or if the gold standard actually has room changes. I partially think, and I'm basing this on nothing, everyone, so if you're a Hammerhead owner, don't get too excited. I partially think that the Hammerhead Gold Standard Pass is going to be a little bit more substantial and have some interior changes, strictly because it's actually been in Gold Standard now for they've been working on it for quite a while. Like, I don't think it's just some light switches and some like fire extinguishers throughout.
What if it is, but the unknown related ship is a Mark II?
Okay,
that has the interior changes.
That's the next question then for you all. It says here, they then moved on to a related ship which is approaching white box. Now, to me, related ship is different than saying variant, right? Now, they could be using the word related specifically because they don't want to give away that it's a variant. They just want to hint that it's... See, when I read that, there's part of me that wonders if related ship just means that it's a big enough ship that it requires an interior and it's Aegis so that it will use the Aegis kit. That's another way of thinking about it, especially since it says related and not like variant. If it was related and it's not a new ship, there's only one other ship that would be in a white box phase or heady or approaching white box that would use the Aegis kit. And we all know what that ship is. We've talked about it many times. It'd be the Aegis Nautilus, because it's the only ship that uses the Aegis kit, meaning the circular hallways with the padding, that literally it's the Aegis kit. It's the only Aegis ship that is 100 some odd meters long, about 120 meters long, uses that kit, and has not been in development, so it would be approaching white box, meaning it's in pre-production. The only other Aegis ships that are not out are the Javelin, which we know is way beyond white box, if not completely done, and the Vulcan, which is a much smaller ship. See, Daddy, nice to see you. Thanks for stopping by. 07 to you, buddy. We're talking about ships. We're talking about the PU monthly report, but always happy when the CIG folks stop by. So thank you, C Daddy. Appreciate you as always. I mean, so I guess you could read it both ways. Maybe this ship is just a variant of the Hammerhead, or maybe it's just a large Aegis ship that will use a lot of parts and pieces from the Hammerhead and other Aegis large ships. I mean, where do you guys sit with that?
I'm seeing it a lot in chat, and I kind of agree a little bit.
Yeah.
Could it be another anti-fighter capital class ship from a different manufacturer that would be somewhat related?
It absolutely
so,
could. That could be the third option. Yeah, that could definitely be the
what
third option.
manufacturer would you like to see from that?
Anvil.
If it was an ANTA.
Anvil. I think any of the big, personally, I think on the military side of things, the UEE Navy combat side of things, I'd like to see larger, and I'm not just talking cap ships here, but just the larger end of the Anvil lineup kind of filled out, because they've got the Crucible, which is not a combat ship. They do have the Liberator, but even the Liberator, it's not really a combat ship. It's a ship that can be used within combat spaces, theaters of war essentially, or theaters of combat. But it's not a ship meant to be taken out and do battle in. We don't really have the larger combat lineup from Anvil, so I would lean more there. Yeah, Shepherd's Commander says, Grim, I need more earlier updates on when you are going to stream so I don't miss any of them. Shepherd, I'm glad you brought that up. So I do want to get better at it. I do apologize. Some of my notifications have been short notice. However, on the YouTube channel, are you on Twitch or YouTube? Okay, you're on Twitch. In my schedule, I usually try to have, whenever I'm going to stream up on my schedule and on Twitch, at least a minimum of 3 days early. Okay. This episode that we're doing tonight, I had up about 3 days ago on the schedule. And here's the thing. I know a lot of people don't look at the schedule of Twitch channels. I don't either even my favorite content creators and stuff, but I check there next time. I do try to have it up there. I do. So yeah. Even going back to my discussion, even the Carrack, I saw Oss Veteran say Mark II Carrack, even the Carrack, again, it's a military ship technically, but it's not really like a full-on combat ship. You know what I mean? So you're right, VM. It could be another manufacturer's version of an anti-fighter ship. I even heard someone say, well, maybe it's the beam version of the Hammerhead. That actually would kind of piss me off, though, because I would rather CIG just make it to where you can switch out the man turrets on the Hammerhead. That would excite the hell out of me, though, if they did that. Like if there was a Hammerhead kit that you could get that switches out the man turrets for manned beam turrets or something, that would be badass. That's how you would throw your rave parties in the verse. You would just have those laser beams flying all around. I don't know, Art. What would you want to see? What do you think this related ship is? Do you think it's a variant of the Hammerhead, a completely new ship, or another Aegis ship in that size category that would use the kit?
I mean, Hopium says it's the Nautilus.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see mines. I mean, right now the best thing that you can do for mines is take a size 10 bomb, chuck it out the back of a ship, and shoot it close enough to another ship to blow up.
And here's something interesting. I know I've seen some people post it in chat. There are some very interesting armor and very, very interesting radar changes that are hitting Evo builds right now. Those radar changes specifically, when I read about them, I didn't go right to, dogfighting, your pips with other ships. I went directly to, scanning for minefields. If you're in a fighter, is going to be a lot more difficult than if you're in like a Polaris or something, right? So that is immediately what popped out to me. So again, I'm not saying they're related, but I'm just saying that maybe mines are on the cards. We do know mines were being developed at one point. CIG had them up on a screen. I saved screenshots, but I've since lost them. And they were before the progress tracker kind of went down. And then they sort of relaunched it with a much more limited view. Before that, mines were almost complete. Again, that's not to say they were done, but their bar was almost complete. So we do know work has happened on mines. The funny thing is, every time the Nautilus comes up in discussion, whether someone asked John Crew about the Nautilus during a bar citizen or something like that, it's always never in production. They haven't thought about it in years, this, that, and the other. But the interesting thing about the Nautilus, and then I'll get off this tangent. The interesting thing about the Nautilus to me is that it has been a long time since we have had anything new in the realm of combat, right? We get different ships with different guns and different, you get the Perseus, it's got its size 8 guns, great, wonderful, but it's still a ship with big guns. We haven't really had a disruptor to combat other than systems, meaning armor, eventually Maelstrom, these radar changes, but we haven't had a disruptor from the ship side of things in the combat space. Mines would do that, and as many people out there that say that mine gameplay would be boring, I guarantee you there would be a rush of people wanting to try out mine gameplay because of just how much it will be a disruptor. By the way, I saw Michael Phillips ask about the SJ org news. More's coming on that. Some stuff's being rethought. I've been playing with some orgs. I've been thinking about it a lot lately, but more soon. Go ahead.
I'm going to throw in one bucket of cold water on the Nautilus.
Okay.
CIG likes to work on the ships in groups by manufacturers. So we've had a lot of RSI coming out.
Yeah.
And what they do is, especially for the capital ships, they use that to build out their internal library of all the internal pieces. So you start seeing in the files kit folders that have the common internals.
Yeah.
We've seen them for RSI.
Mm-hmm.
With the recent updates, they've started to roll them out for Consolidated Outland and Anvil, but not for Aegis.
Right.
So I don't think they're ready to start rolling out some new Aegis capitals yet, but we might see some from those manufacturers.
On the flip side to that, to counter that, I partially wonder. Here's the counter to that, and I agree with you with all that. I think you're on there. To play devil's advocate, though, I would say that even though big Aegis ships kind of haven't been being worked on, they sort of stealthily have been, because we know the Idris had a lot of work leading up to its PU release last year. We know the Javelin's been getting work, most likely, and possibly could release this year to the verse. Maybe it's next year. But if Squadron 42 comes out this year, it wouldn't shock me if they put the Javelin out into the verse. And
that's quite possible. They're holding back everything sitting with Squadron 42.
It's possible. And where I'm going with that is there is a lot of, while there may not be an Aegis kit, we do know there's a lot of Aegis parts and pieces because of those other ships. Now, even that's not totally sufficient, because, I've been one to say it that, the Aegis ships do need a little bit of TLC, in my opinion, even just interior wise. Some of their textures, I don't know if you agree with this, VM, but like the inside of the Idris looks awesome. I think it looks badass, but some of its textures to me look slightly lower res than what newer ships have, just in terms of a crispness level.
I want to say some of those textures are some of the from the original builds of the game,
and I think that could be the case.
Old textures in the game.
CIG once stated too, I can't remember when they said it, but and I think it was Nathan Dearsley who said this. He said, and this is obvious, I'm not saying anything that's like shockingly new information, but he said something about how the Squadron 42 Idris has like much higher fidelity textures than the one we see in the PU. And when he said that, that was when Xenothreat was going on and we were battling the Idris there. The Idris was not in players' hands. I think the Idris we got at Invictus last year was pretty much the one they've had in the build forever for the most part. I do think at some point we'll get a slightly updated Idris, and it may have higher fidelity textures. I think it might have some interior changes as well, just minor stuff in terms of like, putting some of those CCTV camera screens and stuff in there. I could see that coming at some point. But regardless, we have heard of differences between the versions. Even another one recently was, now this wasn't interior related, but they talked about how the Squadron 42 Javelin, I think, has dual size 10 main turrets, while this PU version has quad size 9s. I think that's the difference. So we do know that squadron ships are not always 1-to-1 to their PU counterparts. Ryan Mac Gamer, salute to you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Nice to see you. So we do know there's some differences there, right? But yeah, I mean, this is interesting. I mean, one thing I went ahead and did here on our ship chart here is we pushed the Aegis Hammerhead up to where it is now with the downstream team. So that's going to be your audio people, VFX, all that kind of stuff. And probably other teams I can't even think about right now. But again, moved it up into the downstream section here. Obviously, the Argo Moth was on here previously, and downstream it is now flight ready and released. Let's go ahead and go to the next one. This is another really interesting one, and one I'm very, very, very excited for. The Gatak Raylan passed its white box gate review and moved into gray box ahead of its planned release at Alien Week this year, with more artists joining the project to help build out assets for future Gatak ships. Now, this one is really interesting to me. Here is, where did I put the Raylan? Yeah, right here. It is now entered gray box, right? The Alien Week is in June, just so everyone knows. Oh my God, they got a lot of work to do to get this ship done by June. I mean, to me, this says something really powerful, though. And this is for everyone watching right now. You go back 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when a ship was in white box, you could kind of just say, oh, it's going to be another year before we see that in the game. Minus like some hover quads and little things like that, right? A ship the size of the Raylan or anything like that, or even like the Galaxy, and we'll talk about the Galaxy in a minute, you would immediately go, oh, it's just going into gray box, or it's finishing its white box K review. Okay, so we'll see that in a year. Now, we have a ship, the Raylan, that's part of a manufacturer that there's not a lot of assets for, Gatak, that is just entering gray box. And it's being targeted for early June release, because isn't Alien Week like the second week of June or the first week of June?
It's coming up fast.
That's crazy. That's like 4 months of work to get kind of a crazy, wild ship out the door. I mean, hell, maybe in some ways it's easier because Gatak has a lot of like hover floaty things. Maybe that makes some things easier, but we've seen some early work on this ship. It's got a lot of crazy animation transforms and stuff.
I wonder how much they've actually, I know they said it's entering gray box. I wonder if they actually had it farther along and then brought it back into gray box to figure out some of the changes they needed to make, like external cargo, for instance.
Yeah.
So they might actually have a lot of the kit interior done and locked in, and just going back to the external pieces.
Yeah. Fast Cart says Alien Week is first or second week of June. Yeah. And I see some people mentioning the Moth. This is why, and I know this frustrates Execute, for example, that there's so many variants, but this is why I don't get frustrated at the variants, or nearly as frustrated. What I've said in the past, especially in regards to ships like the Moth or Hermes, is that I think they're perfectly good ships and they should exist. They're just not super exciting when they come out. You're like, oh, okay, yep, the Moth, pretty good. Probably should own it, but it doesn't like get you like talking. You know what I mean? But the reason I excuse all those kind of variants and the reason I'm okay with it is that there are a lot of really exciting ships in production, and they're moving along faster than I thought they would. If you would have asked me before this PU Monthly Report if the Raylan would make Alien Week, I would have said hell no. Because we had already heard that it was in white box, right? So now they're confirming it's a planned release for Alien Week, and it's entering gray box. That's an incredible... there's been a sea change and at CIG on the ship team side in terms of their throughput capabilities, meaning how many ships they can push through in a certain amount of time. There's been a big change.
I'd be curious to see the size of those teams overall, because it went from a relatively small
small group
to now having a number of sub teams spread out across 2 studios.
Yeah.
By the way, I got corrected on this the other day. It's the vehicle team, not the ship team.
Oh, vehicle team. Okay, cool. Yeah, thank you. Real quick, everyone. Mal, thank you for the posture check. I do need to sit up. I'm sitting a little weird because I have a back corrector thing on this chair. But thank you for that, Mal. Thank you for subscribing with Prime. Art used 30 biddies. Appreciate that, Art. Iron Thatcher sent a 1 month sub to our 1 month tier 1 sub to C Daddy. Thank you very much for doing that, Iron Thatcher. Appreciate you, bud. Appreciate you. And a bunch of follows, everyone. Really appreciate it. Austin, Chap, Data, Cyborg, Moon. Hopefully I didn't miss anyone. If I did, I apologize. Real quick, everyone. We are 35 followers away from 8,000 followers on Twitch, which is pretty incredible. 167 viewers on Twitch and 195 on YouTube. Thanks, everybody, for coming out tonight. Do appreciate it. And then Art used 30 biddies for a gigantify emote of my face. Really appreciate that, Art. Good man. All right.
Worth every bit.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. Let's talk about Invictus for a minute here, okay? And we're gonna actually, let me read the update on one other ship. We're gonna bounce around a little bit here. Really quick, I want to read on the Ironclad. Drake Ironclad and Ironclad Assault and Command Module each passed their gray box gate reviews. The teams then moved on to Lot 0 tasks, quickly progressing thanks to the time invested during the white box on the modular kit. Again, referencing those kits you talked about, VM. I want to swing back over here. Again, I've updated what the Ironclad is. Okay, we've updated where the Hammerhead is. Let's, in this discussion around the Raylan, let's talk about Invictus in general for a minute here. Invictus usually starts towards the back half of May, usually runs until about June 1st, and then we switch over to Drake Defense Con, which I still wonder if CIG is going to change that to just Defense Con and have other manufacturers there. But either way, we go into Defense Con, and then soon after that, it's Alien Week. It's like a lot that happens in a short amount of time. And if you think about it, in that time period, which is quickly approaching, by the way, a couple months away, there's a few big things on the menu. First off, the Ironclad. And remember, the Ironclad's not one ship, it's 2. Okay, 2 big ships. Okay, 2 big ships that are going to appeal to people. One's going to appeal to the cargo people. One's going to appeal to sort of the logistics combat people. Okay. From Drake, popular manufacturers. That's going to be a big hitter. That's during Defense Con. Okay. Alien Week, we have the Raylan, another really popular ship. Besides the Merchantman, I would say the Raylan is easily the most talked about alien ship in that I've heard, in the ship talking circles I've been in. So really exciting ship release there. And I don't think we've had a flyable ship during Alien Week in a long time, like a new ship going flyable. But then we're kind of forgetting, in those 2 big releases, we're kind of forgetting what the big one is during that time period, which is Invictus, right? The actual UEE Navy military event. We do know one big thing that's happening there. The battle cruiser is going on concept sale, right? That's a big deal. But there's going to be a little bit of intangibleness to that, right? Because one, it's a concept ship. People have gotten awfully used to not doing the concept ship stuff anymore. And 2, this is really important, it's going to be really expensive. So it's not going to be for everybody, obviously.
And possibly hull limited. I mean, I would assume it's
more
going to be
than likely. Yeah, and more than likely hull limited. So where are we at with Invictus? That's interesting. We still need small and medium ship. It's possible this Hammerhead stuff could come during Invictus. I could easily see that. It's with the downstream teams now. I think that would line up good for the Invictus time period. Obviously that related ship wouldn't be releasing then because it's only in white box. But an updated Hammerhead could be cool. It's possible. I don't want everyone to get excited because I am about to go all out on like a huge copium ledge here. It's possible the Javelin could drop to players. It's possible during Invictus. Everyone said it was never going to happen with the Idris, and it did. And they released it before they said they would. Originally, the Idris was going to come with Squadrons release. Then CIG released it early with Invictus. Same could happen with the Javelin. Bunker says it right there, confirmed by me. But, and here's the thing, it may be smart for CIG to hold the Javelin until Squadrons release. I don't know. I'm just saying it's possible. But even with the Ironclad Defense Con, even with the Rail in Alien Week, Battlecruiser concept at Invictus, we still have room for other ships to come, especially accessible ships for that time period. So it's going to be an exciting time. I mean, pretty much from Invictus, we got some big question marks, but possibly some exciting stuff with the concept reveal. Then we're going to go right to Defense Con, big release there, and then boom, right into Alien Week, big release there. So it's going to be an exciting time period. And again, that's only like 2 months away. So Ironclads, let's talk about those for a minute. Obviously, this is a ship that I think is going to have a really big impact. I think it's going to be a very, very popular ship for people. I foresee a lot of people who have hull Cs, who have Hercules, I can't talk tonight, C2 Hercules. I see a lot of owners of those type of ships melting and going to the Ironclad, partially because the Ironclad carry capacity was bumped up. So for me, for the price, you're much better off melting your C2s and grabbing an Ironclad. On the flip side to that, I could see a lot of hull C owners melting their hull Cs and going down to an Ironclad, which I do know is a pretty substantial cargo drop. However, with issues that the hull C frequently has, I've heard a lot of people say that I'm considering an Ironclad. I'd rather do 2 simple runs in my Ironclad by just loading it from freight elevator in versus dealing with the hull C elevators and loading stuff, which I think is kind of fixed now, but there's been issues with it. Go ahead, V.
We did a cargo mission actually with the hull C.
Yeah.
And it actually worked fairly well.
Good.
And being able to offload cargo off the external spindles was a lot of fun. It's just taken forever, unfortunately, to get them working. So I understand the frustration I think a lot of those owners have had with the whole C.
Yeah, I mean,
but they need to get it running, especially with the whole B coming online soon.
The whole B, and you know, myself, I'm a whole D owner, which means I have a C loaner, but I have the whole D, and I bought the whole D for a very, very specific reason. One of the big things I want to do is build space stations eventually, not just for whatever org I'm in or the STARJUMP org, but for other people too, right? Because I have a Pioneer. And I just felt the whole D was like the perfect ship for running the construction materials required at scale for something like the supply bay to be built or whatever. So it felt like it was in that nice sweet spot of, I think it's, 6,000 SCU or something for the whole D now. But yeah, I mean, partially, and not to tangent too much, but partially I hope that the D and E come with at least 1 to 2 drones that do cargo offloading for you. I think that would be really cool at that scale. I think that would be a nice thing to have. It would make sense. I know it's not in the original concept or plans for the ship, so I'm not expecting it, but I do think it would be a worthwhile thing for CIG to look into. So yeah. But yeah, Drink Ironclad in whole Lot Zero. This is an interesting one for you, VM, because one of the things obviously they mention is that the ship, and I know this because I was following its development, the ship spent a long time in white box. The Ironclad did. Long time in white box. And then now it's sort of blew through gray box and now heading towards Lot Zero. And CIG has been pretty open about the fact that the kits really played a role in that speed. And to be fair, I think we're seeing that across the board, that it's the kits, but it's also how the kits are being used. Like, how the kits change the actual ship pipeline, not just the kits themselves. And I think we're seeing that in ships like the Raylan and stuff in terms of how fast they're able to move through production. So I guess I would ask you this, VM. I mean, you've seen some of the kit files hit the client. How do you feel that the kits will benefit ships moving forward?
I view the kits as a piece of an overall improved pipeline.
Yeah.
I think the vehicle team has really polished that pipeline where they can get a ship moving through without hitting a lot of the snags and back and forth that they had in the past.
Yeah.
And that's why we're seeing the speed in which they're able to build ships out now. And the kits are just one component of that overall pipeline.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Joy Pop, thanks for the resub. And Banson, thanks for that follow. Appreciate you. Yeah, I mean, I think that the other thing I'm really excited to see from the kits is if you go back on the PU monthly reports and you read about, I would love to compile this one day and sort of follow the journey of the Ironclad through that production. One of the things that they had mentioned in there is that the kit and the extended time in white box has allowed CIG to really work out the flow of the internals of the Ironclad. So I'm really excited to see the Ironclad in terms of like walking through the ship and all that, because I'm expecting a really, really nice layout, right? Specifically because the ship spent so much time in white box, and one of the things they referenced was that the Drake kit was allowing them to move things around in white box to get a better understanding of flow throughout the ship. So I'm really excited to see what those knock-on effects are. Chad Clark, thanks for the subscribe over on YouTube. Appreciate you, bud. Yes, I do know this chart does not have the Aurora Mark II, but we're going to get to that. And it's partly because there's some mystery surrounding that. Next, they say the work continued on the Grey Cat UTV, which had a freshly captured inter-X-Ray animations implemented. It's currently with downstream teams for completion. That makes sense. I could see the UTV being the LTI token for Invictus. That would make sense. I don't think it's a combat-related vehicle, but they might have a combat version, or maybe it carries guns and stuff on it, like has a weapon rack on it.
Did they show
or
off a
something.
photo? I thought I saw a concept photo of it not too long ago. It looks like a PTV crossed with a Kubota.
They did.
Back.
I don't have it handy, but they did, yeah, at one point. It looks cool, actually. Out of all the the little golf carty ground vehicles, I think it looks the coolest. So I'm actually kind of excited about it. And again, it's going to be the LTI token. Here's the thing. Once CIG gets bases in this game where we can build our bases and stuff, you're going to see ground vehicle sales explode. I think one of the primary reasons people don't buy a lot or at least don't buy as many ground vehicles as they normally would is because of the lack of ground vehicles. The lack of bases.
Ground vehicle sales exploding is not the same thing as ground vehicles currently exploding.
True. I would here's the thing. If I could chew John Crew or Ben's mind for a minute, I would ask them this question. Okay. If the physics and all that is systemic in Star Citizen, which I assume it is, would it be a good idea if ground vehicles had upward facing maneuvering thrusters? Think just tiny little thrusters pointing up, so they're pushing thrust upwards to push vehicles on the ground to provide traction in low gravity environments, so on moons and stuff like that, so that the vehicles respond better and don't slide all over the place? Or am I thinking about the physics system wrong, which is also possible? Because
first of all, I'd like to point out,
I feel like they don't have traction. I'm just saying. I want to feel
if you're inferring that vehicles such have some sort of aerodynamic device to improve traction, you should probably put spoiler warnings on that.
Oh, okay.
That was a joke. That was a very bad.
Oh, okay. Warning. I see what you did there. I need to see what you did there, emote.
All right, I'm just gonna time myself out for that joke because
Yep.
And by the way,
Put you in a corner for 10 minutes.
for those that did ask questions or have asked questions with questions in bracket, Art has been grabbing them. We are going to circle back to those. Next, though, Misk's upcoming hauler, the Hull B, continued towards its Lot Zero gate review. Tech Art is currently finalizing the highly intricate spindle deploy and retract animations. Again, going back to our board here, the Hull B kind of going towards its Lot Zero gate review and being going to hit those downstream teams. Again, I think this is one of those ships that is going to be very popular. Even for people that don't love the Hull series kind of look and feel and vibe and all that, this ship is going to be popular simply because of how the game is actually played. If you've done enough of these events, whether it was the most recent event, the Clear the Air event, which again, big shout out to Enemy Contact and the people over there, helped me push through it. Absolutely amazing group. Cannot recommend them enough if you're looking for an awesome org to run with. I need to get back in there and chat with the guys some more. I've been sick most of this week. I didn't have a voice, by the way. But the where was I going with that? The Clear the Area event. You play enough of those events, you get an understanding of how you want to quickly load cargo on ships, get from A to B quickly and easily. The Hull series ships, especially at that Hull A, Hull B size, they're really pretty damn nice for moving cargo. So I think it's going to be a successful ship. It's going to sell a lot, especially with the SCU capacity going up. Does anyone remember what the Hull B went up to? I think it's like 500 something now, right? Chat.
Good question.
Let me know. Does anyone remember what the Hull B went up to? Fastcart says 512. Thorn says 512 for the Hull B on external spindles. Yes, C Daddy confirms it. It's 512. That's pretty crazy, man. Think about that in terms of not just, I like the Hull series ship, but think about that in terms of actually doing the events as we've been doing them and what would make your life easier and convenient. You know what I mean? It's going to be a successful ship. It will be. It really will be. By the way, real quick, everybody, I want to take a short pause because I do want to shout someone out because I told him I would shout him out. Awesome dude. I want to shout out Black X Sparrow over on Twitter, or X, whatever you want to call it. He helps people get referrals. I wanted to shout him out. He helped me out for just one day as a solid, and I appreciate him. And I wanted to shout him out. I can't recommend him enough. He got me a ton of referrals on top of everyone else using the referral codes through the new player guide and stuff. We're up to 36 referrals now. And remember, if we hit 50 referrals, I'm vowing that we will get the Misk Raptor into Fleet Viewer whenever we get our hands on the model. I've made that promise. I'm forcing VM to do the actual work and hard part of it. I know he loves that. He loves that when I do it. But we will get it in there for sure. We have to. It's the Misk Raptor.
So you're saying we're moving it from the CIG soon box to soon.
Soon to you.
Okay.
Soon to you.
I'm good with it.
Yeah, we're basically going to have it in before CIG has it.
Yes, actually, and let me real quick state that because I got VM on here. I wanted to comment real quick on the Hermes and Moth and Fleet Viewer, specifically the Hermes. Okay, the Hermes is done; it's in Starlet's hands. But I wanted to let everyone know the reason that stuff has not hit is Starlet, the one and only. We love her. She has had sort of someone close to her have a tragedy. I don't want to go into the details. She has been dealing with that. Obviously, that is priority. I told her to do not worry about getting the Hermes in the Fleet Viewer. Get through her stuff. We will get it in there at some point. For right now, just use the Mole or the Apollo and just change the name to Hermes or Moth. We will get them, but I want to let Starlet get through her stuff. As you all remember, we do this on our free time. VMXEO does this on his free time. I do it on my free time. Starlet does it on her free time. We all have jobs. We all have day lives. lives that we have to live and things we have to do. We will get to it, but I want Starlet to deal with her family stuff that she's going through right now and not have to worry about anything. We'll circle back around to it at the appropriate time, and we will get it in there. We always do. But we appreciate the patience. Just want to let that everybody know that. Okay. And there was also some tech changes. VM, we don't have to go into that, but there was some tech changes with how the ships are compiled. Is that the right way to say it?
Starfab is broken, so I rewrite some stuff.
Starfab is broken, everybody. CIG just took a big dump.
You heard it here. Okay? Run around, chaos.
You heard it here first.
I blame CIG.
Torches.
Why does CIG have to keep working on the game?
Yeah, why do they keep developing this game?
1.0 tomorrow. Let's do it.
Yeah, exactly. But anyways, it's coming, everyone. We're letting Starlet get through some stuff. Everyone, make sure you send an 07 or heart her way. I'm sure she'll watch this at some point, as she always does. And we just all want her to know we're thinking about her, and all that good stuff. And we're patient. We're all patient. No rush.
See, Daddy, I listen. This is art. I'm totally kidding. I'm completely kidding. I am so kidding. Don't tell His Holiness Father Chris. I don't need my ship blowing up accidentally.
No.
I pay my tithes. I say my prayers.
All right, moving on. We still got a lot to cover.
I just want to point out that there's one thing I've learned from the Star Citizen community. It's that every employee at CIG is responsible for the entirety of the game.
That's true. From
Chris Roberts down to the baristas who make the coffee. So,
including people that drive by the studio sometimes. Now, they don't even work there. Yeah, it does have, they accept all responsibility. All right, real quick, moving along here. 3 unannounced vehicles progressed as well. The first is approaching its gray box gate review, while the second passed gray box following minor functionality requests from the director. The third passed its white box review, Its white box review, though, is currently receiving tweaks to the layout before gray box. This is the category that I always sort of just by myself refer to as the mystery bag. It's like an unannounced ship mysteriously traversed from white box to gray box. There's no information here other than more ships are in development. So the North America team, an unannounced ship passed its white box gate review with the team talking feedback regarding some of its interactions, or some of the interactions. I can't talk today. Team talking feedback regarding some of the interactions with elements in the rear half. A lot of info there. We're going to move on.
The way that's written, it sounds like the ship just snuck by, and the ship team came in the vehicle team came in on a Monday and was like, how did this happen? Who did this? Yeah,
this is a ship that the ship team is currently touching the butt of. They're touching butt cheeks on. They're working on that rear. Next, and this is the big one. This is the one I want to talk a little bit about tonight. Finally. You see how they had to say finally? Because even CIG knows you end on the most important news when it comes to ships. Even CIG knows this. Okay.
This is the origin ship, right?
Yes, of course. Absolutely. Finally, the Drake Kraken had its white box review rescheduled to early March, from mid-February to early March. After further concept time resolved areas that didn't hit current standards. Very interesting. The team also reviewed traversal throughout the ship. Following this, they removed and reduced the scale of some rooms that offered no benefit to players without compromising the scale of the interior hero rooms, like engineering. Okay, here's the other big one. The ship remains on track for its planned release next year. 2027, everyone. I remember when I purchased my Kraken. First big ship I purchased, by the way. I had sold a house. Me and my wife sold a house. We had gotten a little money out of it. And I said, I'm going to purchase myself one crazy purchase. And I purchased a Kraken. And I said to myself, I wonder how long it'll be for this ship to get in game. How long would I have to wait? Would it be 10 years? Because I honestly at the time thought it would be like one of the last ships added to the game, for sure. Like post 1.0 thing, sort of thing. And here we are, 2027 is when the ship's being targeted, which means from its concept development start, because it started concept development, I believe, in January of 2018. I think that's what Paul Jones told me. January 2018 was officially revealed in October of 2018 to the public. That is 9 years. That's shockingly faster than I thought. But I'm very, very excited for this. Now, where I wanted to go with this word here, they removed and reduced the scale of some rooms that offered no benefit to players without compromising the scale of the interior hero rooms. Now, this was interesting to me because there's two things going on here with this. The first is that, and this is one we can't, I'm going to actually switch screens here. We're going to go to this. There's something very important here about the Kraken. Okay, we're going to remove the skin here so we can get to the internals. This is the only known cutaway we have of the ship. Okay, this was created in 2018. Now let's be very, very, very clear. That was 8 years ago. The ship has obviously been through a reconcepting pass. It's gone through a whole white box phase to suss out, flesh out the interior. It's highly possible that a lot of what we're seeing here is completely changed. I want to make that very, very clear. Okay. I'm going to be referencing this, but there could be massive areas here that have changed. Okay. But when I started thinking about areas of the ship that do need changes, or rooms that could be reduced based off no real gameplay, I did get to thinking about like, well, what could that be? And there was one specifically that stood out. And now again, I want to point out the other factor here is we know there are rooms coming to the Kraken that are not on this. One of those being the medical room, right? We could surmise that there's also probably going to be an armory, probably going to be a brig. I think those two are likely. Those two rooms, so those are 3 rooms not on this cutaway, labeled on this cutaway, that are kind of interesting, right? Brig, medical room, and armory. And out of those 3, okay, maybe the brig doesn't happen, but there's no way in hell this ship don't have an armory. You know what I mean? In addition to the medical room John Cruz said it would get. So what I want to do is I want to zoom in here and we'll take a look at things. The entire front 70% of the ship, or maybe 60% of the ship, is a lot of corridors and traversal ways and an air car platform for the air car to run. Okay, so a lot of traversal ways here. We know this. I think one of the first things that could have happened is because originally in these traversal ways, there was really only 3 things that those traversal ways gave access to. The first one was some components, namely, as you see here, shield generator. I think there was some batteries and other things listed there. And that's probably the most minor of the things. The other thing was that it was a way to get to the front turrets. You can see those up here. That's how you get to the front 3 turrets. The third thing was that's how you got to the habs for the other ships that landed on the deck. So that's a massive amount of ship space dedicated to turret access, not even turrets, but turret access, hab access, and a few components that are not in engineering. So I think it's very likely CIG maybe went through this area and sort of reconfigured some of these traversal ways to have other cutaways, other areas. I think there is room in the ship personally. Even though that's sort of a long, skinny area, there is room there, I think, to do other rooms beyond this. So I think that could have happened. But more likely, we're going to move back here. More likely, one of the biggest offenders, I think, in rooms is this room here where you see the 1, 2, 3, 4. So this room here is essentially the fuel tank room. These are the fuel tanks that give fuel to the ships landed on the deck or in the internal hangar bays, excuse me. That fuel is pulled from these tanks. Okay. There was a piece of concept art. I probably have that concept art. It's right here. This is the concept art of that room. Okay. You can see the big tanks here. You can see it's really high ceilings. You can see how small the person is in there. This is not directly an engineering room. This is, there's a massive engineering room in the rear of the ship. So this is one of those rooms that I just thought of as being really cool from you're walking through it and there's these big fuel tanks. But I always thought this was a lot of space dedicated to no gameplay. You can kind of see how much of the interior it takes up. I think this room has definitely been changed. Like if I had to guess. First off, those fuel tanks could go anywhere. You don't even need to technically see them. I think it is kind of cool that you get to see them, but I don't think it's required that you see them. Okay. So
I have a hot take on that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Since that's the cargo hold directly below the fuel room, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It would be cool because those tanks remind me of the refueling tanks on the Starfare.
Yeah.
If those tanks you could actually haul in full fuel tanks through the cargo bay and basically connect them in that room. And that's how you refuel your Kraken, is you basically detach and reattach.
It could be really cool. Yeah. I mean, this elevator here, I don't think this elevator goes all the way to the top, but it would be cool if this freight elevator did go all the way to the top. At which point you could put fuel tanks on the bottom and lift them all the way to the top fuel room.
There you go.
However,
then also with the whole upcoming refit, refuel, all that other good stuff for the capital ships, that would be a way to hold the fuel for your stuff on the pads too.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yep. But again, when we're looking at internal space, I think it's important to look at rooms like that. So this room here, I definitely see probably undergoing changes. Now, who was it? Kusanagi said, hey, Graham, hold on. You're looking at it like Khan. You need to look more three-dimensional. A side view of the hallway location doesn't show the 104 meters to the left and right of that. And that is true. That is true. However, this part of the room is interesting. The top part of this room is in the actual sort of control tower of the Kraken, which does thin out and gets kind of skinny. The bottom part does widen out. And we would assume there's space on either side of that. We have never seen what that space looks like, though, unfortunately. But I do agree with you that we think that space exists there. But either way, I see this room being reconfigured. Another room, again, there's corridor space. I would assume that cargo, one of the things we've heard from CIG with the Ironclad is that they rearranged some ladders and traversal ways in the cargo room of the Ironclad, which drastically increased its carry capacity. That could have happened here too, but instead of carry capacity being upped, because the ship already carries a lot of cargo, what they could have done is opened up more space for more areas, right? I mean, if you kind of go around to the rest of the ship up here, we have obviously the bridge up here. You're going to want a nice sizable bridge. You want for these cargo or these big cap ships, you want a nice expansive bridge. Planning room, which normally could be chalked up to maybe not super useful, but we know hollow tables are coming. 1.0, they talked about that. There is a planning room, though, which is different from this room up here, which is also listed as the planning room. This is a room I think that probably could have got reconfigured to something, maybe an armory, maybe a medical room, whatever. Let me fast forward a little bit here. We also have, I think it's going to go down. I think below here is habitation. Again, habitation occupies a pretty small area of the ship. The ship does have a pretty sizable crew, I think 10 at a bare minimum. So again, you're starting to see where they could start thinning out some of these areas and regaining some of that internal space. Even, actually, let me go back to where the whole thing's lit up. Even in some of these little areas here, you can see there weren't any rooms cross-section, this corridor area here, this area here. What we could have seen is just a lot of shifting to make things fit. And I'm really excited and hope that CIG shows us, sort of like they did with the Polaris when it was in white box. I do hope we get some updated cross sections of where they're taking the internals of this. When could they show us something like that? Maybe during Drake Defense Con. Maybe. It'd be cool. I don't think so, but it would be cool. Either way, what CIG says that they're doing here is putting more emphasis on the rooms that we're actually going to engage in. Again, goes back to those rooms we were talking about: armory, medical room, engineering, which you see down here. The Kraken's got a very large engineering section. Cargo area. Okay, a lot of activity going in the cargo. Ship's got a huge cargo area. Dragonfly Bay, little bit of a question mark there. I'm curious to see if CIG follows through with the Dragonfly Bay or if that's reconcepted to some degree. There's still a big part of my thinking that thinks that the Dragonfly Bay would be better served at the bottom of the ship so that the Dragonflies could go in and out of the bottom elevator. I do know that Gavin and Paul Jones both said that there's a really interesting lift mechanism to get the Dragonflies out of the ship and retrieve them. We'll see how complicated that is, but we'll see. Drunken Lizard, thank you for the follow. Hepford, thanks for resubscribing with Prime. But,
I have another hot take on the Dragonfly Bay, and this is something I think it was going through my mind. I didn't when we were talking about ground vehicles earlier, that the ceiling on some of the hover vehicles, like the Dragonfly, should be a lot higher.
Yeah,
to allow it to sit on higher ships like that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're very right. I mean, I think that could be something. It'll be interesting to see what they've done there. Again, this is a concept from, 8 years ago this year, 9 years ago when it releases next year. That's a long time for things to be rethought, right? Shawnee, thank you for the follow. That's a long time for things to be rethought. And it'll be interesting to see. We have this area here on the ship too. I can't remember if this was ever labeled though in any of the artwork. I'd have to go back. You can see the size of a person here, that little white thing. So I don't know what these things are. It's possible these are like batteries or something crazy. I can't remember if it was ever labeled. Did I ever label it? Let me see if I highlighted it. No, see, even I didn't label, because this here is the privateer.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, this is the privateer though. This is where some of the internals change for the privateer, and this is going back to the regular, which again you see that room is not labeled, so I don't really even know what that room is. So again, another room where stuff could happen. Again, we're seeing this, like Kusanagi pointed out, because I think it's a good point. We're seeing this as just a direct cross section, which is how CIG had it on the website. We're not seeing, this in 3 dimensions. We're not seeing what's on the left and right side of this cross section, of which we would assume there's quite a bit of space. So the next thing I wanted to talk about with this ship though, is we do know that just the Kraken's in development, not the privateer, although the privateer will have a lot of its work done just by the Kraken being in development. One thing I want to get your guys' opinion on before we go into some Evo news, so just kind of wrap up the Kraken conversation, is I've really been wondering if CIG would surprise us, because if you remember, we got that Kraken image that CIG posted right here, where it looks like the external of the Kraken is kind of coming along, because I did check this across the 3D model. This is definitely new exterior model here. But it had me thinking, is it possible CIG could put the Kraken just external only out for us all to see during Defense Con or during IAE later this year or whatnot? And I know some people will be like, no, it'll never happen. CIG has had the Kraken in the client before, not in game, but during the CitizenCon 2018 presentation, the Kraken was on one of the Lorville landing pads. You can see it here. Again, just external only.
You can go to Cousin Kuro's, and that is not a prop version of the Kraken. It is a scaled down Kraken asset.
Right. Scaled. Exactly. So. But how epic would that be if they had the Kraken external sitting out somewhere for people to check out, just the external? And here's the thing. Some people would say, well, even that external image they showed in that sneak peek wasn't finished yet. Well, sure. Neither was the Polaris when they put its external on in Invictus before it released later that year. Its external Lot Zero decal stuff wasn't finished either. I'm just saying, how epic would that be if the Kraken external was showed off? I think it'd be really cool. What do you guys think? Do you think it's possible?
I totally think they should hype it up.
Yeah, I think it's a good opportunity to definitely hype it up and bring it out, because a lot of the focus, has been on the news about this battle cruiser, and I could see them being like, yeah, battle cruiser, sure, but also look at this shiny new toy over here.
Yeah.
And this one you're going to get next year. Battle cruiser, we don't know. I mean, 5 years down 1.0.
And remember, we don't know when the Kraken's coming out next year, but, and this is important, because of its hull limited status, that means it's only got in Defense Con this year, IAE this year, maybe Citizen Con, and then maybe, so that's 3 sale opportunities this year, and then maybe another sale opportunity. So you've only got a couple more sale periods at the concept price before the Kraken skyrockets in price. Remember, the Idris went to 1900. You guarantee you the Kraken's going up too. I promise you the Kraken's going up. So, I don't know. It's just something to think about. I do think it's interesting. Last but not least, I did want to get to one other thing, because I know people are asking about it. I wanted to get to this image here. This came out in the latest sneak peek. This is, I think we all can surmise this is the Aurora Mark II. Is that where everyone's landing on this one? The Aurora Mark II?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I don't know what this ship is. I don't know what the Aurora Mark II looks like. None of us do. I think we're all excited to see what it looks like, but no one actually knows what it looks like. But if you go back to some of those concept show episodes I did, what was it, a while back, there's a lot of really cool stuff CIG could use, some old concept designs. I did this concept design of what an Aurora Mark II might look like, kind of based off a little bit of the Zeus styling or something. From a scale perspective, imagine if that was about the size of the Aurora, but had just enough room for the interior or something. Personally, I would buy that in a heartbeat. I don't know if that's the way CIG's going with it. However, based off this image here, it kind of does look like they're going that way. You know what I mean? Like, it looks like it's got a fully, it looks like it's got a much more opened up interior space in the rear. I'm still expecting this to be small. But I'm pretty excited about this one. I do not like the current Aurora. I've never been a fan of it. But what do you guys think? Excited for the Aurora Mark II?
It just better have the X-Wing on there that VMXEO did.
See, here's the thing.
I'm gonna riot. I'm gonna riot.
Here's the thing. That's never happening now. Only because he did do it.
Very carefully walked around that. Every time. Every time on Reddit, someone has to talks about the Aurora. That's stupid. Can
I tell you what's funny about that? And unfortunately, VM, you're gonna have to bear this weight. Is that if CIG doesn't do that, there's going to be vocally upset people. Okay.
And that's what makes me feel bad about it. It was thrown out there as not a CIG should do this. It was literally a spec concept. Just
right.
What would this even look like? And it just took on a life of its
own. However, if CIG was, even if they don't do the full on wings go out in the next form, but if they just added something where imagine if it had on the Polaris and Perseus, it's got the little wings that fold out when you go into flight mode, and they fold in when you land, the little winglets. Even if it just had something like that went out in an X form when it's in flight mode, just as a wink and a nod to that, tell me how awesome that would be.
Who was it?
Cyberwolf doesn't like my Aurora comment. Sorry, buddy.
It's it's going to be. It's going to be X ramps.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It'll just be a little nod.
Yeah. Well,
open up the cabinet and it says VM dash.
Yeah. Well,
If anyone from the vehicle team is out there listening, I apologize profusely. I have no control over the Star Citizen community.
Here's what I will say. Here's what I will say. I think CIG is very, very well aware that concept exists. I think they're very well aware of people wanting it. If they decide not to go that route, then it's obviously it's a deliberate thing, right? It's a deliberate thing. And yeah, we'll just have to see. We'll have to see.
My feelings would not be hurt.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, again, we'll have to see. That's all we can do, right? That's all we can do.
So the serious question to this, part 2 to follow up with this, VMXEO, Aurora Mark II kit bash after it releases when? I just want to see you kit bash it again. Just say it, man.
When it comes out, I will kit bash it again. If they don't put Ornithopter wings on it.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, I mean, here's the thing. It looks damn near done. So I think we're getting it soon. It could be a 4.7 ship for all we know, being that it's a sneak peek. Would you all agree with that?
Yeah.
Could be a 4.7 ship.
Could be.
I'm looking forward to that. Yeah.
All right, everyone. For the sake of time, I'm going to get the giveaway ready. I want VM and Art, while I'm getting the giveaway ready, matter of fact, get your entries in now. Would you guys please talk about these radar and armor changes here? Appreciate you. Don't all leap at the opportunity.
I'm trying to remember exactly what the... I know there was radar changes.
Let's talk about radars. So radars have sizes now instead of just the default one. And those sizes heavily affect the range of ping. And I would imagine the fidelity of the ping, like how much...
More than ping, if I remember correctly. It has to do with your gimbal targeting as well. Yeah. Which is a great idea. Don't get me wrong. I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
And increased power consumption.
Yep.
By the way, everyone, if you want to get on the giveaway tonight, we're giving away the med kit to 2 winners. If you on YouTube, all you got to do is go to the link pinned to the top of chat, leave a comment on that video. That's my new player guide video. Just leave a comment there. If you are over on Twitch, you just need to go !ticket. YouTube people, sorry for all the restream notifications for the ! ticket purchases. I don't know how to stop that. I'll look into it though. But get your entries in now. But yeah, anyways, guys, your thoughts on the radar and armor changes coming into the game?
What I like about the radar changes is these are the kind of meaningful upgrades ships need. You now that engineering's coming online, we need to be able to start speccing out our ships for our play style a little bit better. And I think this is a good first step in that direction.
Well, to me, these are the changes to me that reinforce the decisions on why people would buy these big ships. Right?
Yep.
Not just a bigger gun. There's different abilities these ships have. The bigger they get, the bigger their components, all that kind of stuff. So to me, it's very meaningful. Yeah, I'm really excited for it. Really quick here.
I do like with the radar stuff. I do like the fact that there is going to be. You're not just going to be able to just hop in and be seen, and people are going to react to you automatically. You're going to have, especially when we're talking about operations, org based or not. You're going to have people paying attention. You're going to have some of your bigger capital ships ping the space.
Yeah.
Does that light them up? I hope it does. I hope that when you're actively pinging somebody, it lights you up, but also, I think it's gonna space the combat out just not a huge amount, but enough to make a difference.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, I think it further, and I think this stuff is really, it's interesting that this stuff is coming, but also stuff like rearm, repair, refuel on ships and stuff, because to me, all these changes are like heading towards those fleet tactical battle things. You know what I mean? And those things are going to be so interesting with all these changes in there. You're going to have clear differentiations of role for those big ships, the small ships, all that kind of stuff. So again, excited for it. Yeah, go ahead.
I hope with that, I do hope that we're with the radar stuff is I hope that eventually we'll be lining it up that you can have things like the tracker, and I know someone mentioned it in chat, using that as like an AWACS to ping other things so that,
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
I can hit things from a distance.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, everyone, we've had an amazing crowd tonight. 214 over on Twitch. Thorn, thanks for the stretch. 219 over on YouTube. I do have to go for the sake of time, so I do want to do this giveaway. Okay. Fortunately, I have to do this. Okay. Random comment picker. Here we go. We're going to pick a random comment from the YouTube channel. Remember, both people that I choose tonight are going to win. If you win on YouTube, you need to contact me on Discord, STARJUMP_Grim on Discord. Okay. I'll get you suited up with your med kit. If you are the Twitch winner, all you need to do is whisper me, or you can hit me up via Discord as well, STARJUMP_Grim, or you can whisper me right through Twitch. Okay, here we go. Gonna pick a random comment in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Admantium X42. Admantium, congratulations. You won one of the med kits. Grab your name there. Congratulations, Admantium. Hopefully you're still watching. Contact me via Discord, STARJUMP_Grim. Heading over to Stream Elements now. Here we go, everybody. Good luck. Let me do a refresh. I'm going to end this in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Closing the giveaway. Alrighty, and drawing a winner. Scroll the way down. Shaman Puma Cat. Now that's a name, everybody. That is a name. Shaman Puma Cat.
That's awesome. That is an awesome name.
Shaman Puma Cat, congratulations. If you're in chat still, you just won a med kit. Again, both of you contact me via Discord, STARJUMP_Grim. I will verify you. Or if you're on Twitch, you can whisper me. Okay, and I'll get you all set up with this. I'll probably do it later tonight, though. It won't be right after stream, probably be a little bit later tonight, but I will get you your med kits. Just contact me, STARJUMP_Grim. Okay, everyone, we talked about everything. We talked about the ships, the PU monthly report. We talked about the giveaway. We obviously reminded everyone about the Ironclad giveaway, which again, I encourage you to get in on this if you haven't already. You can either scan the QR code on your screen or boom, go to the link I just posted in chat. I do appreciate it. If you like my content and want to help support the channel, what I do, help support me being able to do this, you can donate to that coffee link right there. I always greatly appreciate you. Thank you very much. We're heading into an exciting time. I should be getting back to my normal schedule here, so I do appreciate it. Appreciate y'all's patience, all that kind of good stuff. I do have someone we're gonna raid tonight. I don't follow them, but I probably will. And the funny thing is they were watching the video on stream of me and Trispone touring the Kraken model, which is kind of funny. So it's a perfect person to raid right now. Okay. So on Twitch, we're going to raid this person, and I need to figure out and remind myself how to do that. Who we're going to raid tonight is going to be Activi. He's got a lot of subscribers, so we're going to raid them. Everyone, I hope you have a great rest of your night. I'll probably stream again on Wednesday of next week, because Tuesday I have my surgery. So Wednesday I'll probably stream. So everyone, I hope you have
Good
a
luck
great
with that, by the way.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Hope everyone has a great few rest of your days. VM, Art, thanks for hanging out today. I appreciate you guys. You're always awesome.
Great to
talk
have VM with us. That should happen more often.
Thank you. Yeah,
Thank
we need to have you do that. Kusanagi, thank you, man. I appreciate it. I probably have them already, but I will take a look. Everyone, have a great and wonderful night. Salute to you. Let's kick this raid off. Give them some Star Jump love when you go over there, everybody. Here we go. Rating in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good night, everybody.